Okay, so I thought I'd just make a quick video on how to use LaTeX. I want to do it really from the ground up. So we're going to start with downloading and installing LaTeX. Now, there's two things that you're going to have to download and install. Both are totally free. They're open source. It's absolutely amazing. So first, really, what is LaTeX? Well, LaTeX it's like a document prep software. And like I said, it's totally free. So that right there makes it better than Microsoft Word. Um, it may not be as intuitive as Microsoft Word because you're not actually directly manipulating the final document like you are with Word. There's actually this underlying like notepad or WordPad, whatever it is that you're using. You're typing all your commands up in there with like all this pretty little pseudocode that will then typeset into your final document, which is a PDF, which, as I said before, you can't directly manipulate. So it's not the most intuitive thing in the world, but you use it enough, it does eventually start to become second nature, and you get very happy with it. I've loved it for God, what I think I'm on year 11 or 12. Yeah, 11th year using it now. I first learned it when I was an undergraduate, my last year of undergrad. I was taking math proofs, and my professor at the time, offered us the same deal that I'm offering you. You type up your homework in LaTeX, you get 10 points extra. And I was trying to get into graduate school for econ. I had to get really good grades in order to get in, and I needed every point I could get, especially in that course, because that was a ridiculously hard class. Um, so yeah, I started using LaTeX. Now, when you get this, you're going to need two different things to install. Both are totally free. The first one is MikTeX. This is like the base LaTeX. Now, if you want to do everything in this, be my guest. You technically don't have to get Tech Studio. Now, if you want to do this, be my guest, but do so at your own peril. Good luck, have fun. It's not the easiest thing in the world. If you screw something up, it'll tell you there's an error, but more than half the time it won't even tell you where it is in the right place. It'll try to tell you where it is. Line 25, you did this, but then you look at line 25 and there's like nothing even there, and you're like, what the hell is this? Or the error code it gives you is just totally screwed up. So this isn't the most intuitive thing in the world, but you're going to need this in order to be able to download and install and then use Tech Studio. So Google MikTeX or just go to miktech.org. Either one, you need to be here. Once you're here, go to download and then download it for whatever operating system you have. Download it, install it. Once it's installed, great. Now we can move on to Tech Studio. Tech Studio is LaTeX, but with more bells and whistles. It's got neat little features. It's got like a little spell checker in there. It'll help you, finish your code as you're writing. Like if you're trying to set up like the equation environment, it'll actually finish it for you. Um, it's really, really nice. I like it a lot. This is actually I've been using this for 10 years, and I've been using LaTeX overall for 11. So yeah, the first year I used it was just the MikTeX, and then I got Tech Studio, and I'm like, whoa, this is amazing. I love this. So much nicer. So, anyways, then you want to download and install this. So just download now, boom, download it, install it. Once you get that, hey, we're up and running. We're good to go. So with that, we get now this tech file. Now this tech file right here, this is for money and banking. So this is from a class I taught last semester, and it's an older problem set. So it's probably not going to be valid anymore. So I figure, what the hell, I can answer my stuff on this. Now, when you open it, you're going to see all this stuff. And you're like, what the hell is this? Well, everything before the begin document really just sets up the like parameters of the document. So like document class, what kind of document is this? Right? So, oh, hey, cool. The document's overall class is defined with this command, which is normally the first command in a text source. Yeah, text source file. Cool. And you get all these things, all these packages. These packages have like different things in them that, like, hey, if you're like, hey, I want to use a graph. Cool. Well, if you want to, actually write the code for a graph and set everything up, well, hey, Tix is your way to go. If you want different fonts, if you want like different math commands, things like that, these will show up in the packages. Now, the nice thing about Text Studio is if you've got this use package command, when you download and install Text Studio, I don't remember if it's got all these packages or not. I really couldn't tell you that come pre-installed with it. I don't think so, but either way, the first time you run this document, it will automatically install these packages if you don't have them, which is really nice. So you're not going to need to know anything here. Just don't mess with anything above this begin document. And then really most of the things below begin document you don't need to mess with either. So what are we looking at here? Well, okay, so this begin document, then you get all this stuff that really sets up like, the document environment, this money and banking, fall 2024, problem set 1, 8/27/2024. This is stuff here that sets up what you're seeing here. This problem set's due on Tuesday, September 3rd. Don't worry about that. You don't even need to worry about this grade table here. You don't need to worry about this little quote. I always like to put a funny little quote, on my assignments because I don't know what the hell, why not? There's empty space there. You may as well fill it with something. All right, 4 functions of money. Now, I don't expect you guys to know what the 4 functions of money are yet. If you do, hey, great. When we get to monetary econ later on in the semester, when you do business cycle stuff, hey, you're in good shape. At least a little bit about money. If you don't, hey, don't worry about it because I'm not. The only reason I'm using this document right here is because it's not from your class. It's from a different class, as I don't want to be giving you answers to homework or anything like that. That's just, kind of defeats the purpose of you doing the homework in the first place if I'm like, oh, hey, let me just give you all the answers. So, cool. All right. Question 1. So you got this little / question, hard brackets, 40. That sets up this right here. So question number 1, 40 points. And then everything that comes after is like the actual question. So, 4 functions of money, list each of the 4 functions of money, define them, give an example of each. So now I've got this environment enumerate. Begin, enumerate, end, enumerate. Everything inside, if I have this /item, right, that's going to set up one thing here. So let's see, let me just get rid of function 1 here for a second and just have item. Okay, well, here we go. 1, right? So that's the item if I leave it blank. Now, get it back, function 1, boom, here we are. All right, so let's answer, what is the first function of money? What's the first function of money? Well, it's a medium of exchange. So what is a medium of exchange? Well, it means that it's used to buy and sell goods and services. So like if you got cash, right, you got like a dollar bill. Well, that dollar bill, that physical piece of cash, that is medium of exchange. So what do we do? Well, if you want to just type out your answer, you can just type it out right here, of exchange. Boom. All right, define it, give an example. Crap. All right, let's just define it. I'm not going to give an example here. It's just, it's too much to type out. You guys really just need to see how to type everything out here. All right, so what is the definition of the medium of exchange? Money is used to buy goods and services. Services. All right, cool. Here we go. Typeset it, blammo. There it is. You just typed it out right in front of it. Cool. Now, what I like to do and what I really like to look for is, for the answers to be a different color than just black. You can type it out in black. If that's your prerogative, that's fine. But I really like to see a different color because now I know, okay, this is where the answer actually is. Because, when you're grading, I think 41 of these, it would be nice to just have it clearly delineated. This is the question, this is the answer. So you can use really any color you want. I'm going to use magenta, as I think magenta is a very pretty color. All right. So we can do, oops, there we go. All right, so if you do this, you're going to need this /color command. This is going to set up what color you're using. And then in the brackets, you're going to have the color that you're actually using, right? So this says use a different color. this is the different color. So let's typeset it like this. Let's see what happens. Okay, well, cool. It made this magenta here, but it made everything else magenta too. How do we fix that? Well, we can do this one of two ways. One, you can, at the end of your answer, tell it to be black again. So /color brackets black. And that will make everything after this command black again. You can do that, or my personal favorite, you can actually, if you highlight your entire answer and just do shift curly bracket, boom, there you go. Now, look at this. It does, wait, what the hell? What was I supposed to, where did I screw up? How did I screw something up here? Oh, well, whatever. I would say fix this in post. And I figured out what I did wrong. Oops. This curly bracket doesn't start here. It actually starts here. Alrighty. Here we go. Now this will put everything inside these curly brackets in magenta. So open bracket, color, magenta, everything in magenta, closing curly bracket. And you get this right here. And then you typeset it. I generally like to typeset every time I go through just to go, hey, you know, like every time I type something new, I like to typeset it. So that way, one, it's saved. Is every time you typeset, it saves the text file as well. Two, if I make a mistake, I know where. You don't want to type the whole thing out and then try to typeset it and it goes mistake, and you're like, oh God, where was the mistake? So it's good form to generally typeset it as you go. Okay, so another thing you can do, let's just say color magenta. Oopsies. Okay, so one thing you can do is, okay, we got this whole thing typed out, you know, open curly brackets, color curly brackets, magenta, close curly brackets, and then the close curly bracket. Everything here, right, everything that I've got highlighted in blue, if you actually had anything here, any text here, this is what would be in that pretty little magenta color. So you can have this and just, you know, copy it, paste, paste. And now when you go through, you can type your answers out. You don't have to, you know, type it out every time. Just copy and paste this in and then put your answers in the blank area here. Okay, so what would the next one be? Well, it would be a store of value. And what is that? Well, a store of value basically just means that if you save money now, then, you know, it will be worth, hopefully, what you saved today, like in the future. So if you save $1 now, you know, hopefully $1 is going to be worth thereabouts of $1 in the future. Now, inflation is constantly eroding away the value, the purchasing power of your money. So if you save $1 today and you wait a year, well, okay, it's probably going to get you like what, like 98, 97, 98 cents, something like that. But it still stores most of its value. So how would I define this? Well, I would really just say money is used to like save wealth over time or something like that. All right, and then you want to typeset it again. Boom. Okay. So we're good on that. Now I could go through the other functions, but you know, it'd be kind of repetitive at this point. So let's scroll down. Okay, what is the double coincidence of wants? Why is it a problem if there is no money? All right, well here, so up here I had these individual items, these like enumerated items. That's great. That's all well and good. You can just type your answers up here. But what if you have like just this question here? What do you do? Well, there's no like, you know, begin enumerate item thing here. So there's nothing already set up for you to type in. I mean, I guess there sort of is, but like this is going to take a little bit more work. Now, in Microsoft Word, if you want to add vertical space, you would just hit enter a bunch of times, and then you've added your vertical space. However many lines you want, that's how many lines you get. LaTeX, you're not really so lucky. If you keep hitting enter, LaTeX isn't going to know what you're doing. It's not going to go, oh, hey, this person wants to put vertical space here. You actually need to give it a command to insert some vertical space. So what do? Well, it's this slash v space, and then in the curly brackets that come right after this command v space, this is the actual vertical space you want. So this v space says, I want vertical space inside the brackets, how much? All right, so if we were to typeset this, this gives 2 inches of space in the document of just blank stuff, right? Well, you're going to want your answer to go somewhere in here. If you just start typing your answer after this v space, right? So let's say start typing about the double coincidence of wants. What would this give me? Ooh, it gives me that all the way down here. We don't want that. It's not very aesthetically pleasing, is it? Not really. But if this one v space 2 inches will give me, vertical space of 2 inches, let's say I still want about 2 inches of space here. What I can do is I can just manipulate the vertical spaces. I can just copy this, right? Copy, drag it down here, paste, vertical space. I changed it from 2 inches down to 1 inch. And then in between these two vertical space commands, I have my actual answer. Oh, that looks a little bit nicer, doesn't it? Maybe you want it like, I don't know, 1/4 of an inch. What would you do? Well, v space 0.25 inches. And I still generally want to have, about 2 inches of space. So if you got 0.25 inches up, up here, you'd want 1.75 inches down here to give me roughly 2 inches between question 2 and 3. And here we go. All right, well, that's kind of nice. How do we do this? So again, just v space, how much space you want between this question and where your answer starts. That would be this v space 0.25 inches, and then you start typing your answer. And then after you end your answer, well, you want a little bit more vertical space. So underneath that, you're going to have the amount of vertical space that you want between your answer and the next question. In this case, 1.75 inches. All right, so let's just go ahead and finish typing out what the double coincidence of wants is because, well, why the hell not? So what is the double coincidence of wants? Again, we're going to learn more about this when we get to like money and banking stuff. We're going to touch on it a little bit in this course. So what is it? Well, it's a situation where two people are bartering. All right, where two people are bartering, they both have items the other one wants. So like you want to trade. Well, if you want to trade something with somebody and you're not going to use money, well, that other person is going to have something of value that you deem of equal value, within some neighborhood of whatever it is that you've got. And they're also going to have to want to part with it for you to part with what you've got. That gets kind of messy, right? That's one of the reasons why money is really, really nice to have, because it eliminates this problem. We don't need to barter anymore. Now, as you add more space, you're going to, as you add more lines here in your answer, you're going to want to take away a little bit more vertical space to try to maintain about 2 inches. Now, don't lose any, sleep or hair over, it needs to be exactly 2 inches. Just try to keep it roughly the same, just, for more like aesthetically pleasing purposes. Because, at the end of the day, you're not just typing this out just to learn LaTeX. You're typing it out, well, not rephrase. You're not just typing this out to make me happy so I can give you extra points. You're also doing it to learn how to use LaTeX because, like I said, it's a very valuable thing to know, especially if any of you have designs on like graduate school in any kind of like a STEM field. LaTeX definitely going to be the way to go. So, it's going to help you learn to manipulate the document a little bit. So what do we do? Well, typeset it. Okay, blammo, here we go. So I got the answer in magenta or pink, right? And I got a little bit of vertical space here before the next question. Now this looks pretty nice, right? I like that. I think that looks really pretty, right? Two things that meet the criteria of functions of money. Let's see, my brain. Okay, here we go. What are two things that meet the criteria, the functions of money, but may not necessarily be what you would think of as money? Well, prisons may not trade like actual dollars or use dollars as, a medium of exchange, but they'll use other things. You could use like cigarettes, right? Um, so we could say that. I don't know. Let's say we do 0.25 inches again. Prisoners use cigarettes for money. The crew of the Voyager. This is interesting now. If any of you like Star Trek, Star Trek Voyager was a show in the 90s about a spaceship that gets, lost in space. It's called the Voyager. And in Star Trek, they don't have money, which is kind of a strange thing to think about. I don't really know how they would get by with, a totally advanced economy like what they got, but they don't have money. And on the Voyager, they're lost in space. They don't exactly have, the ability to get everything that they wanted as they wanted it. They don't get access to the replicators, or they just tell this little machine, make me whatever it is that I want. It kind of like just like beams it together for you. That has to get rationed out because, the energy that they require to be able to produce that is now much more limited than it was before they got lost in space. So they would have to ration out their ability to use the replicator. They call it replicator rations. They would use that to, exchange different, goods, services, whatever. Well, the Voyager, is a spaceship. So we're going to, want to italicize it. How do we do that, right? So far, we've learned how to make everything just, this normal text. But if you want italicized text, what do? Well, you can do Control-I. And Control-I automatically gives you the /text-it, right? Text IT for italicized. And then, again, because you're setting up this different environment, you're going to have brackets opening and then closing. And whatever's inside the brackets is italicized text. So it's saying, I want what comes next to be italicized text. I'm opening up this bracket to say this is where it's going to start, and then I have this closing bracket to say this is where it ends. So the crew of the Voyager would use replicator rations as a medium of exchange. And then naturally want to typeset it, make sure it works. Oh, God, what did I do wrong? What happened here? Oh, I did this vertical space 0.25 inches. But now, between my answer and the next question, I didn't tell it to add another vertical space. So what do? Well, I just add vspace 1.55 inches. There we go. That looks really nice again. That's what I was looking for. Cool. All right. So more or less, this has us set up for being able to type our answers out for word problems. What about if you have math? Well, I guess I kind of screwed up here because I don't have any math questions. But let's say that you want to have some math. How do we do that? Well, this is where things get kind of interesting. Let's say I want to have an equation or I want to have some math in my answer. So let's say I'm going to do vspace 0.25 inches. I'm just going to, again, just copy and paste this color magenta setup here so I don't have to type it all out because that's a real pain in the ass. All right, now to make sure I didn't mess anything up, I'm typing this vspace 1.55 inches. Actually, I think it's 0.55 inches. I had 1 inch of vertical space there. So let's say I want to have an equation. The equation can show up in body of the text So we can have the equation show up in the body of the text. where I would say like, I don't know, say I've got like y equals x squared, right? Well, if I do y equals x, well, let's look at this really quick. What's this going to give me? Okay, well, I guess this technically works, right? But you really want the math in this to look a little different than the actual text that you're using. So what can you do? Well, you can actually use a math environment. And that's what the dollar sign does. So if you just do a dollar sign, you need two dollar signs, one to start the math environment, one to end the math environment. Then everything inside is math. So let's typeset this, okay? See, take a look right here. Is y equals x. Look at how it changes. Ah, that looks a lot prettier, doesn't it? A lot more like mathematical, so to speak, right? But I didn't want y equals x. I wanted y equals x squared. How do I get y equals x squared? Well, I need a superscript with a 2 to make it squared. How do I do that? Well, shift 6, there's that little caret that you get, and then whatever comes immediately after that caret is going to show up in the superscript. Now let's say I want y equals x not to the power of 2, but say to the power of 2, I don't know, z, right? Let's do this. Let's try to do x to the power of 2z. What shows up? Oh, well, I get z back down here. I don't want it down here. I want it up in the superscript. What do I do? Well, if you've got more than one thing in the superscript, well, you have to do opening and closing brackets around whatever is in the superscript. Typeset it. Boom, there you go. So if you have one element in there that's in the superscript, you don't need the brackets. If you got more than one element, you do need the brackets in there. All right, now let's say I want the formula for gross domestic product, or GDP, right? Remember, it's y equals c plus I plus g. But each observation, output y, consumption c, investment I, government spending g, right? Remember, that is all at one point in time. So it's like, yt, ct, it, gt. How do we do this? So if I want the formula for GDP, I would have to type it out as, well, I want y equals c plus I plus g. Now it's in real terms, so it's lowercase. I want this, but remember, I want it at time t, not just this time invariant thing here. I need to signify it's at, time t. So I want it in a subscript rather than a superscript. What do I do? Well, if that little caret is the superscript, right, this little shift and then what the underscore thing makes it the subscript. And it works the exact same way as a superscript, just down low instead of up high. So if you want one element in the subscript, whatever comes immediately after is what shows up. If you want more than one element, then you need to do brackets. All right, so let's just type this out here. Boom, here we go. Now I got y equals ct plus it plus gt. That's cool. But let's say I wanted last period's GDP. Well, that's going to make things a little bit more difficult. I want y equals t minus 1 for all of these. Well, now, you need the brackets instead of just whatever comes immediately after that subscript. And here you go. Cool. Good stuff. Now, this is if you want to have it in the body of the text. I want to have the equation be separate from the body of the text. Say you're going, hey, we have this, that we like this equation we want to show. If by this equation we can get this and this and this, and you don't want it in the actual paragraph, you want it in its own thing. Well, you can do this one of two ways. You can either do two dollar signs, and this puts it on its own line and centers it. Let's see. Let's say I want to have the percent change, right? The growth rate of, say, prices. What's the growth rate of prices? Well, it's inflation, right? All right. Well, inflation has that little pi symbol, pi sub t. How do we do that? Well, I do a slash pi. And the nice thing is when you start typing it out, it tries to finish it for you. So I got pi here. I want pi. We all like pi. At least I do. Subscript t. That is inflation at time t. And this equals, well, what does it equal? Well, it's the percent change in prices, right? What's the percent change? Well, it's the new price minus the old price divided by the old price. So, well, now I've got a numerator and a denominator. How do I do that? Right? You can't just like draw a line on this. It doesn't work that way. So what do? Well, there's fortunately a command for a fraction. And this fraction is going to have two sets of curly brackets. The first one is going to be for the numerator. The second one is for the denominator. So what do I do here? Well, I got, what is it again? It was P sub T, right? New price minus P sub open brackets T minus 1. Oh, there we go. PT minus PT, what the hell? Okay, there we go. PT minus 1 over P sub, oops, T minus 1. All right, and then make sure I got all my brackets. Now, the nice thing about Text Studio is if you can lose track of your brackets, like when you're typing the stuff out, but Text Studio will go, hey, look, let me highlight where like if you got a closing bracket, let me highlight where the opening bracket is. It's really nice like that. So it'll tell you, okay, do you have enough like closing brackets to line up with your opening bracket so nothing looks screwed up? It'll do that for you, which is really great. Okay, so if you do this, well, now it centers it and it puts it in its own line outside of the body of the text. And then you just go back to, I'm back in the body of the text. Typeset it. Boom, here we go. That's really nice, isn't it? If I want to label the equation, so let's say it's like an actual like important equation, it's not just like, wait a minute, why did these subscripts, why didn't it give me these subscripts like I wanted it to? Dang it all to hell. All right, here we go. There we go. Cool, that's nice and pretty now. All right, so now if I want to label the equation, let's say it's like a super important equation that I'm going to be referencing later. So if you're like typing out some answers and you're like, hey, I got this and I got this, and I start here and we go here and here and here, and then, we need to refer back to equation, this other equation that I typed out earlier, you can label it. How would you label it? Well, in this case, instead of doing the $2 signs, you would type begin, and this begin says I want to come up with an environment. I want to do begin equation and end equation. All right, let's just get this closing bracket here out of the way. All right, so this begin equation, end equation. Everything in between the begin and end equation is the actual equation. So let's say now I want to have the equation for inflation inside the equation. What is this going to give me? All right, well, it looks more or less the same as what you have with these $2 signs, right? But the thing is, it also gives you this nice little label here, equation 1, right? And if you wanted to label it, let's say it's called inflation. You do / label, open brackets, type inflation, close brackets. I can say now I have equation ref, this means reference, equation ref inflation. And what does this give me? And now I have equation 1, right? So you can actually, if you label out whatever this equation is, if you type ref, that will reference whatever you've got named here under the label. So now I have equation 1. Isn't that nice? Now I think this is pretty much everything that you'll need for the class. I can't think of any other situations where you would need to do anything else. You're not going to need like any calculus. I think it's really just like some basic math, some, fractions, things like that. Now, you type everything out. It typesets, hey, cool, this is really great. Now, whatever you've got this saved in, right, whatever file you have this saved in, you're going to want to go to that file. All right, here, what do we have? Well, we've got problem set 1, and I've got problem set 1 answers here. This is, the actual answer key that I had for, the problem set last semester. What do I want, all right, when you're submitting this as homework? Well, I want this one right here, problem set 1, right? This is the tech file. The tech file is the stuff right here. I want to see that code. But more importantly than that, I want this PDF. The PDF is what you're seeing here, right? But this isn't actually the PDF file, right? You want show me the PDF file. Well, okay, you open that. Boom, here we are. So this is what you would actually be turning in. All right, and I can see this. I'm like, hey, this is really great. I like this. This makes me happy. All right, so you answered some questions. You got, a little bit of math here. It looks really nice, really pretty. This is what I would actually be grading, but I do want to see your tech file here so that if, there's any mistakes you made, or anything that I think could possibly be done better, I can type little suggestions here. Now, if you want to type suggestions, how do you do it? That you don't want to actually show up inside the document. Well, you do the %. And this % makes everything that follows a note. This is a note that won't show up in the document. And as proof, we typeset it. Oh, yeah. It says it can't write on problem set 1 PDF because, well, the PDF is open. So you got to close the PDF, typeset it again. Cool. Well, it typesets it. And if you notice, nowhere do I have this note, right? This is just shows up in the background of the tech file, and that's it. Does not show up in the PDF. Now you're going like, all right, Jeremy, well, that's all well and good, but what if I want a %, right? What if I actually want to type out a %? Well, if you want a %, you can't just do this because it's going to note everything out, right? So what do? Well, you do the slash and then %. And this says I want it to be a %. I don't know, like X%, right? Or type out, or let's say like 2%. Now when you type that out, here you go, typeset, boom. There's your % right there. So you got to do that slash % in order to get it to show up in the document and not just note out everything that follows. Now for $signs, right? The $sign, $1 gives you the math, like environment, math mode, whatever, inside the line of the body of text, right? Inside your paragraph. The $2 signs makes it its own little thing that is separate from the body of the text, that's centered and its own thing, and then as soon as you close that out, you go back to the original body of the text that you're typing it out in. But if you're like, hey, I want to have money, I have money and I want to talk about dollars, and something is $100. Well, okay, well, I want to spend $100. You can type that out, right? But you really want that $sign. I want the $sign. Remember, if we had that slash in front of the %, that typeset it out as a %, not noting it out, right? Well, if it works for %, probably works for a $sign too. So just do that, typeset it. Here you go, slash $sign. It actually now shows up as a $sign and not something to put it into math mode. So there's a strange symbol that you're like, it's not working if I try to get it to typeset. What the hell's going on? Try the slash in front of it and then do it. And that'll probably help you out a lot. Now, I showed you for pi, you got some Greek letters. If you want a Greek letter in here, you got to do the slash and then the name of the letter. So if you want like delta, right? I want a lowercase delta. Well, for one, these signs show up only in the math mode. So if you want it in math mode, well, you got to do what again? It's $sign. Right now, of course, when you're typing things out, you want to be as close to complete sense as humanly possible. Right, if I want another Greek letter, I would have delta. Right? Okay, where are we here? Okay, so that gives me the delta. That fancy little, looks more like an S than like a D, right? That's a lowercase delta. What if I wanted an uppercase delta? Then what you do is, get it in math mode. / instead of typing out delta all lowercase, make the first letter uppercase. And now you get the little triangle, delta. Now here's another interesting thing. I got this period after closing out the math mode, right? But I've got this blank space here, right? This empty space. You'd think, okay, well, if I got that empty space, if I hit space a couple of times, it's going to keep giving me spaces in math mode. Well, that's not actually the case. If you look, that period comes immediately after. There's no horizontal space being added here. If you want a horizontal space in math mode, what do you have to do? We got to do the / and then a comma. And that will insert a standard space. Now, in the not math mode, you don't need that. Why? Because, otherwise it'd be really, really annoying to have to do / comma between every single word, and that would just be really ugly. Nobody would like that. So it's obviously not the case if you're just typing out standard text. But if you're doing math and you need any kind of a space for any reason whatsoever, you need to do that / and then the comma. If you want multiples, well, / comma / comma as much as you need, as much as you want. And I think that actually closes everything out. Naturally, as you progress through your ability to use LaTeX, you'll have new questions. Always feel free to email me with questions. I'm happy to answer them as best I possibly can. But yeah, this should get you started. Nice, short little, almost 45-minute video. It's not super short, but I guess given the amount of material that it covered, it's relatively short. Yeah, so good luck on getting started with your homework. I hope more of you type everything out in LaTeX because it is a really awesome piece of software. And it's, like I said, it's an incredibly valuable tool to use, and it just makes your stuff look better. It makes your documents look better. They look more professional. I've got like everything that I could possibly have in LaTeX, like my resumes in LaTeX. All the books I've written for the course are in LaTeX. The homework's all in LaTeX. The exams are in LaTeX. Basically, everything's in LaTeX. Yeah, I wouldn't have it any other way. So I hope you guys like it as much as I do. Yeah, good luck.